This is designed to stand as a chapter, not just a narration, something that fits seamlessly into my global archive of erased voices and contested histories. Truth Frame World Memory 6 is dedicated to Venezuela, birth of a nation, burden of oil, and the battle for sovereignty. The land before the storm. Venezuela's story begins long before the world knew its name. Before the flags, before the borders, before the oil rigs pierced the earth, this land was a mosaic of indigenous nations, Arawak, Carib, Timotoquica, each with its own cosmology, its own memory of the land. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they did not simply conquer territory, they disrupted memory. They imposed new names, new hierarchies, new gods. But beneath the surface, the old stories survived, in the mountains, in the plains, in the whispered songs of the enslaved and the dispossessed. This tension between imposed power and enduring memory would define Venezuela's destiny. The birth of a republic, 1821. The 19th century brought a new kind of fire. Simón Bolívar, the liberator, rose not just as a military leader but as a symbol of a continent's longing to breathe. His dream was audacious, a united republic stretching across northern South America, free from imperial chains. In 1821, Venezuela broke from Spain and joined Bolívar's vision of Gran Colombia. But unity proved fragile. By 1830, Venezuela stood alone, a young republic, hopeful yet fractured, governed by caudillos and competing visions of the future. Still, the idea of sovereignty, of a people shaping their own destiny, took root. It would be tested again and again. The Black River beneath the soil. For centuries, Venezuela's wealth lay in cacao, coffee, and cattle. The world barely noticed it. Then, in 1922, the earth opened. The Barroso No. 2 well in the Maracaibo Basin erupted with such force that crude oil shot 200 feet into the air for days. It was a sign, a revelation, that beneath Venezuela's soil lay one of the largest oil reserves on Earth. Foreign companies rushed in. By the 1930s, three giants, Royal Dutch Shell, Gulf, and Standard Oil, controlled nearly all Venezuelan oil production. Oil transformed the nation. Caracas became a modern capital. Migrants arrived from Europe and the Caribbean. Roads, schools, and industries expanded. A middle class emerged. But the transformation came with a cost: dependency. Oil became the lifeblood of the economy. And like all lifeblood, it made the nation both powerful and vulnerable. The mirage of prosperity. By the 1950s and 60s, Venezuela was one of Latin America's richest countries. Its currency was strong. Its democracy, restored in 1958, was admired. But beneath the prosperity lay a dangerous illusion. The economy depended almost entirely on oil. Corruption grew. Inequality deepened. Foreign influence remained strong. In 1976, Venezuela nationalized its oil industry, creating PDVSA, a state-owned company that became one of the most respected in the world. For a moment, it seemed Venezuela had reclaimed its destiny. But the structure of the oil state, centralized, fragile, and exposed to global markets, remained unchanged. The Bolivarian turn. In 1999, Hugo Chavez came to power promising to end corruption, uplift the poor, and reclaim Venezuela's sovereignty. His message resonated with millions who felt excluded from the oil wealth. Chavez redirected oil revenue toward social programs, education, and healthcare. Poverty initially fell, but the economy became even more dependent on oil, and PDVSA became increasingly politicized. When Chavez died in 2013, Nicolas Maduro inherited a system already strained by falling oil prices and structural weaknesses. The collapse came swiftly. Crisis, mismanagement, sanctions, and the geopolitics of oil. By the mid-2010s, Venezuela was spiraling. Hyperinflation. Food and medicine shortages. Mass migration. Political polarization. The United States, citing corruption and democratic concerns, imposed escalating sanctions on Venezuelan officials and PDVSA beginning in 2017. In 2019, it recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president and blocked the Maduro government from accessing oil revenue abroad. Sanctions intensified the economic collapse. Oil production plummeted. From my perspective, and the perspective of many analysts, this was not simply about democracy. It was about control. Control of the world's largest oil reserves. Control of a strategic region. Control of a narrative. The long history of U.S. involvement in Venezuelan petroleum, from early 20th century oil concessions to modern sanctions, gives this interpretation weight. Whether one sees this as geopolitical strategy or economic coercion, the impact on ordinary Venezuelans has been devastating. Memory, power, and the unfinished chapter. Venezuela today stands at a crossroads. A nation with immense natural wealth. A people enduring hardship and displacement. A political system fractured by mistrust. An economy constrained by both internal failures and external pressure. But beneath the crisis lies something deeper, a struggle over memory. Who gets to define Venezuela's story? Who gets to decide its future? Who benefits from its suffering? Who controls the narrative of its rise and fall? In Truth Frame, World Memory, Venezuela is not just a case study. It is a symbol of a global pattern. When a nation's wealth becomes its vulnerability, its sovereignty becomes a battlefield. The Venezuelan people, resilient, creative, and proud, continue to endure. Their memory is not erased. Their story is not finished. And in this episode, their struggle becomes part of a larger tapestry, a world where truth is contested, memory is weaponized, and the fight for dignity continues. This is Truth Frame, World Memory. If you believe these stories matter, like, reflect, remember, and subscribe. Your comments are most welcome. Your support fuels the next frame of truth. Thank you and keep looking for my historical videos.